Again, it's a blessing to be here. The vast majority of those who are in attendance and probably going to attend have found out about this from soulpreaching.com. Because we are mostly ministers, I would ask you all to bow with me at this time as we ask the Lord's blessing on what we are about to do this evening. Heavenly Father, we ask that you would enlighten us, bless us, help us as we seek to extend the ministry that you've given to us further than we've done in the past. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Amen. The internet, the internet has changed everything. The internet has really democratized the media. All of us, any of us, who have a microphone and have a little webcam on our computer can now access the world. We don't have to have publishers that we used to have in the past. We don't have to have all of these gatekeepers that are keeping us from the people. Many of you know me, Sherman Cox, because I stepped out and offered that which God has given to me to you, independent of any organization, independent of anything to separate us. And we as preachers really need to get our hands around this and to begin making better use of this marvelous opportunity that God has given to us. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't add that there are many preachers who are taking advantage of this. You can go onto YouTube and you'll find many preachers who are making use of the internet and also going and finding other websites as well. But you are here because you are wanting to find out more about moving online. In fact, this particular seminar I created this to be first steps towards moving online. So let's go ahead and get started into this seminar. I have here previous seminars that we've done, preaching the African American tradition, 4 dimensions. We're going to do that at some point in the future. No free preaching, sermon planning using logos and biblical exegesis, supercharge your sermons overview and exegesis workshop. We've done a number of these in the past. As you can see, this is a little bit of a transition as we are seeking to really talk about not preaching per se, but how to use the internet. And so today, the agenda is going to be an introduction of the subject. We're going to do steps to getting online, what you need to do to get online, fundamentals of getting traffic. It's one thing to be online, but if ain't nobody listening to you, if ain't nobody looking at you, it can be a challenge. So we're going to talk about fundamentals of getting traffic, getting people to look at your site, finding inexpensive helpers for your site. Hopefully we'll get to that as well. I would encourage you. I've got a link on here to go to ariseinternetmarketing.com slash moving online, and you'll find really a broad overview uh, of this particular seminar that we're going to talk about in that particular article. But also, as time in the next day or so, I'm going to send you this PDF so that if it's a blessing to you, you can use it as you're learning more of this, of how to move online, moving your organization online. Introduction of the subject. I start out by asking, why not just use social media? By social media, I'm talking about YouTube, I'm talking about Facebook, talking about MySpace, talking about Google Plus, talking about Twitter. All of these are new. There'll be a new flavor of the month in the future. They're all coming, and they all are places where we can move online. But not only that, we can move online for free. So why not just use social media instead of making use of having your own website, having your own presence. I have on here, remember MySpace. If you don't know, MySpace was big. Everybody had a MySpace page. But then, in a little bit, now Facebook took over, totally overtook MySpace, and now everybody's on Facebook. I don't necessarily believe that everybody will stay there. Excuse me. But everybody's there now. I'm there. If you want to become my friend, go to uh, facebook.com/Sherman Cox, I believe. But uh, what we need to keep in mind is that these social media locations will not necessarily, excuse me, something's hitting in my throat, will not necessarily be here tomorrow. What are they? The big ones right now are YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. LinkedIn is another one that's kind of big for those in business, doing business type of social media, where they actually is a that's a place where they can put testimonials and that type of thing, and bring them all together for your business or for you as a business person. But um, social media, don't hear me wrong, is a good thing to have. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of these are good places. You probably want to, you definitely do want to be on them, but they should not be the foundation of your internet presence. The foundation of your internet presence should be your particular website. Um, why? Your social media space has requirements. Forgive my poor grammar and spelling. Man, something really got in my throat. But there are requirements placed on your social media space. For example, you go into some places like WordPress.com, and you can't have advertisements on there. You can't solicit money on some of them. They have requirements that they place on you. YouTube places some requirements on different people, and in fact, uh, let me your let me see here. This is the one I wanted to get a. You might get kicked off of the social media space. I've definitely talked to individuals and helped individuals in the past who've been kicked off of social media. I helped a minister once who got kicked off of social media because of what he was saying about certain prominent ministers or ministries. These social media spaces are often going to kick you off and ask questions later. If somebody comes and says something might be wrong, they'll kick you off. If they kick you off, what does that mean? You've lost all of the investment you placed in there. I see a lot of people who are online, who are providing important content inside of Facebook, and they could get kicked off at any time. Getting information out of your social media space may be difficult. It's difficult for you to get control of the space. In fact, one thing that you should know in the fine print when you sign up for a lot of these places, what happens is you give them rights to your stuff. Your stuff, but they have rights to. Why? Well, they're giving you this space for free and that type of thing. But as you can see, it can be difficult to get your stuff out of. The social media space could go down at any time. It could go down, and it is owned by them. Let's move. Let's move on. Free ain't free, and this is one of the challenges and this is something that I really try to emphasize. A lot of individuals attempt to go online and they like to go online, but they want to only use free things, only free materials, free storage space. You tell them about something that costs $3 a month, and they're saying, "Well, I'm looking for something free." But the important point that I want you to realize is that free ain't free. Free costs. It costs you. This is business. And once again, I got a spelling mistake there. But business costs money to start. Ministries cost money to start. The nice thing about the internet is that it doesn't cost as much as other things, but it is going to cost you something. $3 a month for hosting ain't that much money. And if you can't spend $3 a month, well, at some point you got to ask somebody, well, what are we doing, and what is the point of even attempting to do anything? Free means, as I said before, somebody else owns your stuff. Free means you have less control over your site. And free often means you can spend a whole lot of your time. And this is something that we really underestimate, how much time we are spending. What do they say? Penny wise, but pound foolish. We're spending much time trying to really trying to jump through hoops to make something work when we could have spent $5 to get somebody who knows how to do it for us. Free ain't free. What does it mean to have your own site? It means ownership. It means freedom. It means power. As African American preachers, freedom, ownership, and power ought to mean something to us. And so we teach that to other folk. We teach that to our parishioners. We teach that to those who come to listen to us every week. Every week we come talking about having your own, helping your own, supporting your own, and then you're gonna try to go online and give away everything for free. No, your site means ownership, freedom, and power. Okay. Uh, we've quickly gone through and seen why social media, having a social Facebook page, doesn't replace having your own stuff. Now we want to look at some basic steps to move online. Now we're going to go through this very quickly, and we're probably going to have another seminar where I'm going to go step by step through some of these steps to actually get a site up. You can get a site up very quickly and very easily. And so you may not be able, we're going to give you the overview here. In the next seminar, we're going to go step by step as far as getting our hands dirty and actually opening up one of these places and talking about how to actually start the website and get it going. But first, before we begin, what are you going to write about? What is your site going to be about? This is the first big question. Individuals come to me and say, "Hey, I want to get online." I ask them, "Well, what do you want to talk about?" And they say, "Well, I don't know." So the first, I have 4 questions here that's going to help you to kind of dig into what are you going to write about? What is your site going to be about? Looks like we've lost audio. Are we back? Okay, audio is restored. It looks like we lost audio for a moment. And are we back? Let me see. Yes, it looks like we're back. Let me move this back in. Looks like we're back. And I've got somebody's not muted because I hear some bad audio. Is the audio, how does the audio sound to you? Does it sound all right? We can, well, let's go on. I'm gonna move on until I hear that it ain't sounding good. Let me see. I am. Looks like we're doing well, so we're gonna move on. And okay, audio is back, and I ask you to forgive me. There's always some technical issues with 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 this, but we lost audio completely. But we're back at it. I forget exactly where I was, but here, what are you going to write about? What is your site going to be about? You're a pastor and you want a website, and you want to say your site is going to be about the gospel. Well, you probably want to have something a little more refined. You want to have something a little more a niche to it, something smaller that you can be the go-to person for. Maybe you're not going to talk about the gospel. Maybe you're definitely going to talk about the gospel, but maybe you're going to talk about how the gospel helps me to become a better father. Maybe that's going to be your emphasis. Or maybe how the gospel helps me to become a better business person, or maybe you're going to talk about prayer. What does prayer have? There's a number of things and a number of smaller areas and niches that we need somebody to talk about. Prayer is definitely one of them. We need somebody to come in here and say something about what prayer does, how prayer can help me to be a better worker at work. That's a that's an important aspect. That's an important point. That's an important idea that that you might be the one to speak on and to write on. See, not just gospel, but an aspect of the gospel, an aspect of truth that you're going to ride on. And so, what's going to happen is somebody comes along and types into Google powerful prayer, your site is going to come up. If somebody comes to Google and types in good news gospel, well, there's 50 million people, and in fact, that may be even an understatement, who are trying to talk about that. But if you have like some aspect that really energizes you, go on out in that. Now, Now, here are 4 questions that are going to help you to get at what you want to write about. What do you like? It doesn't have to even be a spiritual thing. There are some people on here who didn't come to this from soulpreaching.com. They came here from Facebook, and there's some I know who came here looking for their organization, nonprofit or even a for-profit organization. You want to bring traffic to your site. You want to have a site that's going to be helpful to the community, and the first question you're going to ask is, what do you like? What is it that energizes you? What is it that makes you excited? What do you read about? What do you talk about? This is what do you like? What do people want to know is the next question. What do I like is one question. What do people want to know? That's another question. I may like something there ain't nobody want to know about. If ain't nobody want to know about it, then that may be a challenge. We might want to think about something else, or at least putting a different edge on it or a different wrinkle on it. And that's one of the challenges. One of the things that's important to think about is that people ask questions in a certain way. I started soulpreaching.com, which is a site that emphasizes the African American preaching tradition. I did a little bit of research, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the tools, but I did a little bit of research and I saw that a whole lot more people use the term black preaching than use the term African American preaching. So, what did I do? I didn't change what I said, I just changed how I said it. So now I am using black preaching. I use African American preaching some, but I use the term black preaching in my writing and in my audio and in my video. So what does that tell you? What do people want to know? People wanted to know more about black preaching than they wanted to know about African American preaching. It's the same thing, but when they go to Google, they type in black preaching a lot more. So what do people want to know is another question. What do you have the ability to speak on? Now, I'm not talking about necessarily you've got a degree in it. You may have a degree in it, maybe you don't. But what do you have the ability to speak on? What have you read? What are the classes you've taken? What are the experiences that you have? These are things that you have the ability to speak on. I, Formal education has its place, but it doesn't have to be formal education. It may be other kinds of education. In fact, if you've got a lot of experience in something, you may have a lot more ability than someone who has a formal education in a particular field. And what can you make money in, especially if you're looking at if you're in a business or you're seeking to be a business, what terms can you make money in? Now this is really goes to what is the purpose of your particular website. If your website is uh, to build up your business, then that is definitely going to be different than a website that is meant to build up your ministry, which may or may not have a financial backing or a financial need, I should say. But what are you going to write about? Ask these questions. These questions can uh, lead you down the road towards answering the question, what are you going to write about? Let me move on. I see a question. Let me see if I can. Someone raised their hand. If you want to ask a question, you can always type it in the question box. I will see it, and then we will go ahead and get to you. I'm going to move on unless if there are any questions, you can ask them now. I'm going to move on forward, but I will stop if you have a question. Uh, Step one is to choose a general area. You've got those those four questions that have given you a basic idea of what your website is going to be about. So now take that general idea and punch it into Google's keyword tool. I want to emphasize this doesn't tell you what to write, but tells you how to write what you write. This is what I spoke about before. This is how you talk about black preaching instead of African American preaching, or whatever it is in your field, whatever it is in your particular area. I want to pop up what is the Google keyword tool. One thing that you will learn very soon oh man, I lost as you are moving into going on the internet and moving your ministry or your organization online, Google has the answer to most of your questions. So I'm going to go to google.com, and what I want you to do is type in the Google box keyword tool. Keyword tool. And as you can see here, it is going to show up here. Now on mine, it's the second one. It may be a little separate for you, but it's keyword tool Google AdWords. I'm going to select that particular thing, and then it's going to come up. Now you've answered your four questions. You've got uh, you've got a basic idea of what you want your site to be about. Then you just punch it in here. Uh, if anybody wants to punch in some thoughts that they may have for a possible website, they can. Sometimes people are fearful of doing such a thing, but I'm going to, if nobody wants to give an example, I'm going to use black preaching. I'm going to use preaching. Preaching is because this is along the lines of what I did when I began. Now I see a couple of hands up. I don't know if somebody. I'm gonna attempt to do this. I see Steve Cheney. Did you want to say anything? Go ahead and say it in the microphone if you had a question. Okay, how about a David Tillman? Did you have something you wanted to say? You can go ahead and say it in the microphone. Okay. Uh, okay, no problem. I am going to move forward. Actually, that was pretty cool that I got the audio interaction. So if you want to say anything, let me know. But I'm going to go in here and type preaching. Now, here they've got this you got to type in the characters. I think that sometimes it's difficult to type in these characters, and I'm using this as an example. You've gone through the four questions. You've got a basic idea of a general idea. Preaching was what I put in there. Let's say that you had done prayer, you could put prayer in there. If you've got an aspect of business, you can put that in there. Uh, if you're a consultant, you can type in the area of your consultancy in there. At any rate, I'm using preaching because just because it was my area, and it's what one of my sites, uh, what I use for one of my sites. And as we're looking at this, I can, man, why is this? I'm gonna have to move this out so that we can see. Here we go. Here we go. As you can see, it's giving you the number of global searches here. Now you go into Google Keyword Tool, you see global monthly searches here. Local monthly searches can be important too if you're in a local business and you're wanting to advertise in your particular local business. Uh, Now I put in preaching, and I see a number of searches here. 6,600 monthly searches in Google for preaching definition. What does that tell me? It means that a lot of people out there want to find out information on preaching definition. So what do I do? I write down preaching definition, and then I go on down to the next thing. Sermon illustrations. 60,500 people. Now, that's a ton of folk who are searching. If that many folk are searching, it's probably going to be a challenge for you to move up. But at the very least, people are searching for that. Maybe you write an article on sermon illustrations if this is what your area is. Preaching Magazine, 480 global searches. Now, that's a smaller search. What is that, like 10, maybe 15 a day? But Preaching Magazine, that's a good amount of searches. That's 15 a day is a not a ton, but it's worth a an article being written. So what do? You write an article on preaching magazines. How many preaching magazines are out there? You write that article. Uh, you know, uh, and what will happen is Google will be able to rank your website based on various criteria. We'll talk about that probably in the next seminar. But what's happening here is, as you can see, I've got a number of examples of things to preach. Dynamic preaching, 480 people a month search for that. preaching sermons is something that people search for. A ton of people probably. I would say that you probably want to go for the smaller ones because they're gonna eat more easily. You're gonna easily more easily rank for that particular thing. Black preaching. That was one of the key words that I zeroed in on. And what do we get? 8,100 people. Noel Jones preaching. So 3,600 people a month search for that. So you could write an article on Globe on Noel Jones preaching, how he preaches, what is his style, what is the structure, these are just examples using preaching. Now I see somebody ask a question. Um, somebody said this is good. Well, I'm glad it's helping. I'm glad it's helping. But that tells you how you can get things to write about, or at least you can think about things to write about. Now, what you can do is you've got 5 or 6, I say get 10 of them. Black preaching sermons, online preaching, holiness preaching, Baptist preaching. These are all areas in preaching. Now, I'm not telling you to go into preaching. If God has called you that way, then go on and go that way. But I'm definitely not looking for more competition. but but don't hear me wrong. You can definitely go into that and find areas and find niches for you to go in that particular thing. But let's go in prayer. Let me try prayer as another example, because this is just something that came to my mind. And once again, I'm using spiritual examples, but it doesn't have to be spiritual things. You can do this with other things. Let's say you're a healthcare advocate. You can use something from healthcare advocacy in there. Whatever. But I'm gonna use prayer. Let me hit search again, and let's go down. 74,000. That's a ton of people search for prayer requests. So maybe you can write an article on prayer requests. Uh, how to set up your own prayer requests. How to let people know when something has happened. Incidentally, that's that's something that we definitely need to do a better job of. We ask somebody to pray for us. We going through something, and then we never get back to them folk to tell them, at least tell them that God hooked it up, or at least tell them that there ain't no reason to pray for that no more. You can pray for something else. Well, maybe prayer requests could go along that way. Catholic prayers, if you're from the Roman Catholic tradition. Online prayer. What in the world is online prayer? That's another thought, another article, or a series of articles. And that's another thing, because some of these keywords may turn into your whole site. Or the emphasis of your site. As we said before, black preaching was just one of the keywords, and that became the emphasis of my whole site. You may in prayer groups. What in the world is a prayer group? Online prayer requests. How does that fit in? Again, you're looking at the global monthly searches for something that people are actually searching for. Now, in the future, in the next in the next seminar, I'm actually going to talk about a little bit more. In fact, that's probably the whole of the next seminar, where we're going to talk about how to zero in and make sure that a keyword or a word over here is a good one to use. Because here, what is prayer? 11,100,000 searches a month. More than likely, there are too many folk who are who are using that particular keyword. You'll never get anywhere near there. But you get down to somewhere like prayer request form 2900. Maybe you can move up there. Maybe you can create a prayer request form and move up there. Prayer.com. You probably can't be prayer.com. Somebody's probably already registered that, but you sure can write an article on prayer.com. And if you write an article on prayer.com, then maybe somebody's there. Prayer chains, prayer partners. Hopefully you can understand what I'm doing here is uh, go to the keyword tool. Let the keyword tool help you to put together your 10 to 15 things that you're going to actually write your initial articles on. We talked about this before. Let me go back. You choose a general area. Uh, what do I have the authority to address? Now we talked about before. Uh, the Google keyword tool is going to help you, but what do I have the authority to address? What do you have formal education in? You know, you've got. I actually have a, master's degree in computer science and a master's degree in religion, master of divinity in religion. So this gives me an interesting skill set as far as formal education to address certain things like this that I'm talking about right now, doing this seminar on how to move your ministry online or move your organization online. This formal education has helped me in that way to move forward there. Informal education, what have you read? Uh, oh, I see some questions now. I see some questions that I ask you to forgive me because I didn't see them before, and I'm going to get to them in a second. But informal education, what do you read? What do you look at when you're looking at documentaries and that type of thing? What do you look at there? In fact, even if you ain't doing nothing but looking at Netflix and looking at movies, what movies you look at? You got folk who are writing websites on that. Gossip. You got folks writing doing websites on gossip. Now, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just telling you that what do you spend your time on? That is telling you what your interests are, and it also you've invested a lot of time in. So you are moving towards being an expert in that particular thing. Actually, somebody said something once that um, there is, if you spend 2,000 hours doing anything, then you are essentially an expert in that. That's definitely the long road, but there's short roads as well. One thing that's interesting is if you read 3 books on any subject, you know more than 90% of the population on that one subject. So there are definitely ways to move towards being an expert. What are you reading? Let me get this. What are you reading? What is your experience in? You're very good at needlepoint. Maybe you're very good at needlepoint. Well, maybe you can do some YouTube videos on that particular thing. Pull that into your particular website. In fact, I use YouTube all the time when I'm trying to learn how to do certain things. When I started trying to learn how to uh, tie a bow tie, what did I do? I went to Google. I went to YouTube. Sorry, YouTube showed me because there was some guy on there who had experience doing this thing, and he shared his experience on YouTube. So, what do I have the authority to address? You don't need permission. This is an important point. This is a very important point. I remember on one of my websites, an individual asked me, who gave you permission to start this particular website? This was because they were asking for what ecclesial organization gave me permission to start this religious based website. And to that individual, I said that the organization that gave me permission was Jesus Christ when he said, "Go ye therefore." The point I'm making is you don't need permission to go on. All you need is the gumption to go on up and do it. There are no requirements for expert status. Now that's within reason. No, there are requirements to practice law. You can't say that you are a lawyer. I see at least one lawyer on the who's attending this particular seminar. He can say he a lawyer, but the rest of us can't say we a lawyer. And I didn't say that. Let me say it right now. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you no legal advice. Don't take no legal advice from me. But back to the point. There are no requirements for expert status in most fields. I say I'm an expert in black preaching. There's nobody out there that's going to come along and say that you don't have the right to say that. I've studied it. I've taken classwork in it. I've engaged in it. I've done it, and I've looked at it, and so I just took the title expert African American preaching. You can do the same thing. Like I said, as long as you ain't practicing medicine, as long as you ain't practicing law and a few other things, you can deem yourself an expert. In fact, you probably are an expert. If you've read, like I said, 3 books on the subject, you already know more than 90% of the population. Nobody gives you permission. There ain't a organization out there. Well, let me take that back. There are always people out there who want to act like they can give you some sort of credential or something that is going to give you the ability to call yourself an expert. Well, you don't need that. All you need is the gumption and to have actually studied and practiced and engaged in whatever it is that you are doing. In fact, if you've practiced it, if you've engaged in it, if you've read on it, then right now I deem you an expert. I ordain you in whatever field you are seeking to go forward in, to go on out and do it, and to stop waiting for somebody else to give you permission to do it. Let me move on. Ah, I ask you to forgive me. This is a little bit out of order. This is when I should have been doing that keyword, gone to my Google keyword. But you get 10 to 15 using the keyword tool, 10 to 15 keywords that you're going to turn into articles. Now, let me move on forward. There it is. Example of finding 10 to 15 keywords. We've already done that. I want to look at the questions that we have. This. Uh, Someone asks, how would we be able to get a copy of the webinar or to see the presentation again? Well, let me say this, a couple of things. First of all, I am attempting to record this right now. Now, I've done like probably 15 or 20 of these web seminars. It's probably more 20 to 25 of these seminars over the last 2 years. And I've attempted to record every one of them, and all of them but one I have recorded successfully. So I am recording that. Well, I should say I'm attempting to record this. Hopefully, we are recording this right now. If that be the case, then it will be posted on. I'll probably post it to soulpreaching.com, put it in YouTube as well as the other side of Rise Internet Marketing .com. But so you should be able to see it there. If you want to download the slides, what I'm going to do is, in fact, at the very end of this seminar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this seminar up on soulpreaching.com so that you can download it. The PDF, these slides, so you can download the PDF. Hopefully that will be helpful to you. And let me see. That is all of our questions at this point. As I said before, if you want any question, if you want if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in. We will get to them as the presentation goes on. Step 2. Step 1, now you know what your site is about. You've got 10 to 15 articles that you know people are searching for. Now you need to get a domain name. And now what is a domain name? That is your www.whateverintheworld.com. That's what I'm talking about. You have an idea what you're going to write about. Now you can either now there's a number of ways to getting at a domain. You can either use a keyword based or a niche based domain name. This is what I use. Soulpreaching.com was an example of a because and that's interesting how I came to that, because I looked it up. I knew I was going to be Black Preaching. I went and tried to go get blackpreaching.com. Somebody already had blackpreaching.com. So what did I do? I started throwing around ideas, and then I was reading a book on C.L. Franklin, and they called C.L. Franklin a soul preacher, and then it hit me. That's the name of the website, soulpreaching.com. I would encourage you, if somebody got the .com, then get a different site, get a different one. Because sometimes, let's say that if I had registered blackpreaching.net, I go to my friends and say, hey, you need to go to blackpreaching.net. What do? They go in and they type blackpreaching.com, because we have been conditioned to put in that .com. So I encourage you to get a .com. If your first thought is gone, and here, I think this is a blessing. I think soulpreaching.com is much better than blackpreaching.com. Soul Preaching definitely gives a hint of it being only black preaching, but it also is open to other ethnic traditions. So I definitely like that soulpreaching.com. But here's another one, learntospeedread.com. Now, that ain't mine, but that's another keyword. Let's say that you were doing it on speed reading. Your site was on speed reading. Learntospeedread.com. Engaginginprayer.com. Whatever it is, whatever is your emphasis here, you can think up what it is your site is going to be. And really, I'm going to let me pop up a site. Well, let me go on further first. Or you can get a name-based domain, ShermanCox.com, AriseInternetMarketing.com. These are basically just names. YourName.com. Really, even if you don't use it, it's probably a good idea to register YourName.com or whatever it is. ShermanCox.com. You don't want somebody to come along, register your name, and then they putting up stuff like this brother ain't no good or whatever. So you definitely want to register this brother or sister. Sorry, I didn't want to be gender specific, but you want to get. You can use your name-based domain. I wouldn't necessarily use it for your main website, but I would have it so that you can kind of play around with it or whatever. Another thing you can do is you can just make up a name altogether, like Google. What is Google? What does that even mean? Google. So you can make up some name. Now, my suggestion is that you go primarily with this keyword based, niche based, whatever your niche is, keyword based name. Now, what do? You can go to a couple of places. I'm going to go up, and the place where I do most of my domain registrations is Namecheap.com. Namecheap.com. What do? You go into Namecheap.com and you go down to this big box here and you type in what you thinking about. So let's say black preaching was the example, and I do a search on that. I know people have already gotten that, so I don't think it's going to show up. But what happens? It shows you that the blackpreaching.com is taken here. It says that that's taken. Blackpreaching.co, blackpreaching.me, blackpreaching.net is taken. Blackpreaching.org is open. And Black Preaching CM, Moby. This gets us to a point. You got tons of these extensions. What extensions should you worry about? Like I said before, you want the .com. If it's taken, then move on, and start playing with something else. Now, one thing that you can do that's helpful is if you did the Black Preaching, or even if you did a Black Preacher. Search for that. Sometimes putting a the in front or in front can get you there. As you can see, these are all available. You can register those if you wish. One thing that I would suggest you don't do is dashes. Black Preaching. That's probably available. Let me see. I'm gonna do a search there. And I'm emphasizing again, whatever your field or whatever your area is, but blackpreaching.com is available. But let's say I'm on the radio, or let's say I'm running into somebody and they want to know what's your website. It's difficult to tell somebody this particular thing. You go black-preaching.com or black_preaching.com. Nah, don't even go down that route. I forgot to bring my water up here. I'm gonna have to do that next time. But at any rate, so you go to namecheap.com, you find your keyword, you do your add to cart, and then you're ready to purchase that particular keyword, that particular domain name. One thing that I also suggest you do is go ahead and get the .net and the .org as well. Yeah, it's a little bit of money. It's $30 for the year, but it's gonna be well worth it. So let me go back down there, and so step 2 is to get your domain name. Domain branding considerations. This is what we talked about before. Get the .com, .org, and .net. If you can't get .com, choose another one. Don't use dashes or underscore. It's difficult to tell somebody where your website is. And here's another question. Here's another point as we're moving forward into the next steps is never buy hosting from the same place you get your domain name. Why? If there's a problem with your hosting, if they got your domain name, then you in a world of hurt. But if your hosting is somewhere else, you get a problem with them, you can always just move to another host. We're going to talk about that next. Here's another important point. Always get a domain name. I was talking to a prominent YouTube minister, YouTube Christian minister who hadn't registered the name that he had made famous on YouTube. He's got this YouTube channel. He had made it famous. He actually got kicked off of YouTube for, as I said before, speaking against some of the big time ministers. At any rate, the first thing I told him to do is you must register that domain name before somebody come along, register your domain name, and then try to want to sell it back to you. Register your domain name, even if, now I'm not suggesting you do this, but even if you don't do anything but take that domain name and point it forward to your website. One thing, for example, in the past, I registered soulpreaching.tv. I registered soulpreaching.tv. All I did with it was forward it to my YouTube channel. You know, now the reason why you do that is so that you have control of that. Let's say that YouTube kicks you off. All you got to do is forward that YouTube TV to a different, your Soul Preaching TV to a different place. You need your own domain name. You don't want to be telling folk that your website is www.facebook.com uh, uh, Joe and Cindy 1234. Nah, you don't want that. You want www.something.com. That's what you want. You need your own domain name. Let me move forward. Step 3. Get hosting. There are a lot of different kinds of hosting. Dedicated servers. This is a box somewhere that is solely yours. Virtual servers and shared hosting programs. These are the ones that are like $3 a month. The shared hosting. Start in a shared hosting solution. Get one that is reputable, well known, and has one-click install of WordPress. I suggest 2: Bluehost, HostGator. DreamHost is all right as well, I guess. But HostGator is one that I would suggest. Bluehost is one also that I've heard is pretty good. I've never been on there. Been on DreamHost and HostGator, as well as I've had dedicated servers and virtual servers. Just go ahead and get on one. You can go to my website to find a link to DreamHost or HostGator, or as I said before, and you will hear it many times, Google is your friend. Let me pop it up. And you can go into HostGator.com and it will give you the hosting plans, and they start at $3.96 a month, which, if you're not willing to pay $3.96 a month, then like I said, what are we doing? Now, the important thing that I want you the important point that I want you to get at, is that hosting is necessary, because this is where you are placing your website. When people go www.whatever.com, they are forwarded to this place. This is your hosting location. So you need to get hosting. Let's move on forward. Step 4. Well, sorry, before we got to step 4, get one-click installation. Bluehost and DreamHost, as well as HostGator, all have one-click installation of WordPress. What does that mean? You log in, you hit one button, and it'll install WordPress for you. Why do I care about WordPress? Because WordPress is the one of the number one site templates, if you will, for creating websites. You can get a website up in WordPress very quickly. You hit a button, it'll start it up, and you can change the look and feel of your site very quickly. And I'm going to go to WordPress. Let me go to wordpress.org. And let me go to themes here. Themes are, this is the look and feel of your website. Once you sign up with WordPress, one button and your site can look like this easily. Well, it's more than a couple of clicks, and it can look like Caroline. Then Toolbox. You can change the look of your site very quickly. So you definitely want WordPress, and we'll talk about more about that in the future if that is of interest to you. As I said before, you don't have to, but WordPress makes things very easy. What to write about? Step 4, what to write about. You've got your hosting up, and I recognize that that there's a wide variety of expertise on here. Some people already know how to put a site up, how to get hosting and set it up. Some of you don't. Uh, in the next seminar, we're going to specifically, we'll go into HostGator. In HostGator, we will set up a website, and it ain't going to take very long. We're going to set up a website from the beginning, step by step, set up a website. But here, step 4, what to write about. We've talked about it before. You've already got them 10 to 15 keywords. What is your site about? What Write about what people want to hear. Those are your 10 to 15 things that we saw before. What are the fundamental questions in your area? That's a question. That's a article. The fundamental questions, that's an article. Write both long articles, short articles. Long articles are going to be more than 500 words. Usually, I emphasize, I try to fall between 250 and 500 words. That's what I seek to do. Shorter than 250 words is probably too short. More than 500 words is too long. Not only write long and short articles, but publish audio. 5 to 10 minutes. Video, 5 to 10 minutes. And text, once again, you're talking about the same thing. You got 10 to 15 keywords that we talked about before. As you're writing that, things are going to come to your mind. Write on them. As you're reading, things are going to come to your mind. Write on them. Step 5, get traffic. Somebody asked me the question, how do you get traffic to your website? Traffic comes from regular updates. You must have regular updates to your site using a constrained vocabulary. What am I talking about by constrained vocabulary? I'm talking about a vocabulary that matches those keywords that you saw in Google's keyword tool. You're going to use that vocabulary. What did I say before? That's why I use black preaching much more than I use African American preaching. Why? Because I'm constraining my vocabulary to address the way that people are actually searching. Ain't changing what I'm saying, I'm changing how I'm saying it. Saying it again. Ain't changing what I'm saying, just changing how I'm saying it. Also, you want to do it in different forms. Video, you want to put up videos on YouTube. Why? Because YouTube right now has become the #2 search engine in the world. You need to be on YouTube. Audio, you want to put up audio. People listen to audio while they jogging, while they doing it, whatever. I definitely get calls from people who say, hey, they download every one of my MP3s, put it into the MP3 player, so while they exercising, they listening to it. Video, you can look at that, and text. So how do you get traffic? Regular updates using a constrained vocabulary. Now, this is just a small smidgen of what of how to get traffic, and we will talk more on this in the future as well, if that is of interest to you. Step 6, update social media sites. Now, in the beginning, I said that you need more than social media sites, but don't hear me wrong. That don't mean you don't get on social media sites. No, you need a Twitter account that is the same as your website. What am I talking about? If you got soulpreaching.com, then you need www.twitter.com/soulpreaching/praying in power/ whatever. Facebook, do the same thing. YouTube, do the same thing. What do? YouTube, you're going to post videos to YouTube. I would suggest at least one a month, one a week. But if not, at least one every other week. And then you're going to embed that into your website. So now you're getting double. It's on your website and it's also on YouTube. Facebook, you're going to put links to your website from Facebook and do it all the time. I see it all the time. Individuals say, "Hey, I wrote an article on this here." When somebody says, "I just can't understand," I just can't understand this particular text. Well, what do? You say, "Hey, I wrote about it here," and provide a link to your website. Twitter, you do the same thing. That's step 6. Moving on to step uh, update with social media sites. And I really had a step 7 I needed to talk about on here, and that is to continue and repeat everything. Do 2 to 3, even up to 5 updates to your website a week, at least in the beginning, while you're trying to get your footing. Provide links to those websites, to every one of those articles in your Twitter and your Facebook. And also do, as I said before, do YouTube video and embed it in. Conclusion, I want you to get started. If at all possible, get started. Even if you don't do nothing but pop up the keyword tool to see what you need to be talking about, get started. Don't wait. You have the ability, you have the knowledge and the know-how to do it. Get started. Don't spend too much time worrying about the look or the aesthetics of your site. The aesthetics are important, but don't spend too much time there. And remember that forward movement is always blessed. Now, went a little bit long. I wanted to do an hour and then have the ability for 30 minutes of questions. I see a question. Let me see. I am trying to pop this up. And how to use Outline Bible. I don't. If you could write that again, or at least write it in. Are you asking how to use an online Bible in your website? Is that the question? Or is it how to just use the website of the online Bible? Someone asked another question. What if you already have both the domain and the host from the same place? How can I separate it now? Well, you can separate it now. It's not I would say to not worry too much about it. Go ahead and stick with it for now. You're probably going to need to move hosting eventually anyway. Once you move to a certain place, my guess is that you probably signed up with hosting at GoDaddy. Maybe GoDaddy. You've got hosting and your domain from there. If that's the case, go ahead and stick with it. At some point, you're going to outgrow that, and at that point, you're gonna. I would suggest not moving up at GoDaddy, but moving somewhere else. Um, yes, the question is, how do you bring the Bible into your website? Hey, this is one of the nice things about WordPress, and we're going to talk about it in the future. But one of the very nice things about WordPress is that it's just an extension on WordPress. They've got a Bible extension on WordPress. And so all you got to do is go into the WordPress panel and type in Bible extension or something like that, and I can show you later how to do it. But then you're going to be able to add that on into your site very easily. WordPress is the way to go in my opinion. Are there any other questions? We have we've run out. I mean, we've got like 20 minutes left of questions, and so we've still got a number of people online. I see a hands up, Clifford Johnson. If you want to say something, you can say something now. If not, if you just accidentally hit the hand up, then let me know. Okay, it looks like they're in the mic. That was probably an accident. So we have another question. Um, is getting an AdSense account necessary? that's a that's an interesting question. There's actually there's a number of schools of thought on that question. Um, uh, AdSense is an advertising program. It's an advertising program that allows people to buy advertising on your particular site. So, so is getting an AdSense account necessary? I would say go ahead on and get the AdSense account early. Go ahead and get it on, set it up. I am not um, I am not the schools of thought are on whether you should begin your site with advertising or whether you should wait till later to add advertising into your site. I would probably suggest that you put advertising on your site early, but not that much advertising. When you look at soulpreaching.com, let me pop up soulpreaching.com. I'm going to soulpreaching.com. And I'm just using this as an example. When soulpreaching.com was starting, I don't know what's taking it so long, but there's a big ad here. And it's going to come up eventually. I ain't do that in the beginning. I had smaller ads in the beginning. I think that it's important that you've got some ads in there so that people, because sometimes people go crazy when they see ads and there wasn't no ads before. So you probably want to have some ads, but don't make them too intrusive in the beginning. As I said before, I wouldn't suggest putting that big banner up there that I'm just gonna. Oh, there it is. It is there. That's a big banner, you know, and I wouldn't suggest doing that early. But let me move on. Someone asked if you want members on your site. Is that a good idea? Um, it really is largely dependent on what you are trying to do, um, and what your area is. Um, but really, what you're trying to do. Going back to my area of black preaching, there's a Black Preachers Network that was created, and this individual has created a membership where he's got members and free members, but they're members, and so he has built up thousands and thousands of people because he has this he's got this he's got these members. So if you've got some sort of a social component to your particular website, then having members can be a good idea. I would caution you, however, to think twice before you take take Facebook head on, or one of those other types of websites. It is challenging to deal with those particular sites. And let me say this: if you are seeking a membership site, membership, um, I strongly suggest WordPress in many cases. If you're seeking a membership type of site, you might want to check out Drupal, which is another template website templates type of setup. But hopefully that was helpful to you. It really is largely dependent on what your website is about, what it's for. But I have found that having members can be a headache. What you might want to do instead of having members in your site, to have members, to have an email list or something to be your membership area. Another thing that you can do is set up mailing, a mail server. Well, what is it? I forget the correct terminology for it. Where anybody who's on the list can write to the list and send an email out to the whole list. So you might want to look into those types of things. Listserv, yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about there. You might want to add that in addition to your site, because I don't know, it seems like a big headache, especially if you're doing this like most of us are doing. We're doing this on the side. This isn't a primary thing. This isn't our full-time job. Um, the next question is, will Google AdSense help drive traffic? Uh, so, uh, yeah. Um, we're talking about that. There's two programs that Google has. It's really the same program from two different sides. uh, Google AdWords, which is where you sell your space to other advertisers. You sell advertising space to other advertisers. So what happens is people will go to your website and they will see links to other folks' websites. They will click on that website, and those people will go to that other website, and you get 50 cents or whatever, whatever the payment for the advertising is. Now, from the other side, you can actually advertise on other folks' site, and that's the AdWords side. And that is where you pay for advertising on somebody else's site. What happens is then those people will come to your website if they click through. Now, I would strongly suggest, especially in the beginning, that you don't even get into Google AdWords. Most people who are doing Google AdWords, buying advertisers to buying advertising on sites to come to their site, they're doing that so that they can sell something on their particular site. You ain't selling something, then you're not going to get money back from what you're paying. Now, what you can do is go find other websites in your field and write comments on those other websites. Oftentimes, when you do that, that provides links back to your website, and people come by and will see your website. So you can try that type of thing to drive traffic to your website, and that's something else that we need to talk about in another seminar. Are there any other questions? Uh, I definitely want to thank you all for coming. We had a number to show up for the seminar. If it was helpful to you, I would encourage you to fill out the questionnaire on the way out. I definitely I forgot. I always forget. Let me do them now. I always forget. Let me do a poll. Here, let's launch a poll. Go ahead and answer these and if you have any questions at the time, go ahead and type them in. Traffic is easy. Traffic is easy. Uh, Traffic is easy. Spend more time on the look of your site than trying to get traffic. Getting traffic is easy. Spend more time on the look of your site than on getting traffic. That's the question that we have up, and just I'll leave it up for a minute. Um, I'll leave this up for a minute. It looks as though number of us are, well, let me go ahead and close this. Uh, I'm closing it. Man, it looks like we ended up 50-50. Um, Traffic is hard. Getting traffic is one of the hardest things that you can do. In fact, updating the look of your site is a whole lot harder than getting traffic to come to your site. Worry about the look of your site. You should worry about it, but you should spend more time worrying about traffic. Now, we haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about traffic in this particular seminar. We will in future seminars. In fact, one seminar is going to be specifically how do I get people to come to my site. Once you get going, you will see that it is difficult to get traffic, but over time it'll become easier and easier as you become more and more seen as an expert in your particular area. Here's another question that we're going to get up. I was supposed to ask these as time goes on, but here's the question. Nobody cares what your website looks like. Just work on the content. Is that true or is that false? Nobody cares what your website looks like. Just worry about your content. We'll leave this up for 50 seconds, well, 40 seconds maybe before I close it, and then we'll just to see. I didn't address all of these questions directly, but they can help us talk about a few things that we did talk about in the seminar. Let me close this down. Uh, is it true that nobody cares what your website looks like? Nah, that's false. People care what your website looks like. In fact, if I come to your website and it looks really bad and looks poor, looks set up really bad, I'm going to be inclined not to come back. you know. So now it is true that content is more important than how your website looks. This is why they say content is king. But it's also true that your website, how it looks, does matter. And that's why I said go to WordPress. There's a ton of different looks out there, free looks. Now, remember I said that free, free ain't always free, and that's the case. But there's a number of things out there, free and inexpensive. So that's how you can make your website look. Now, let me also say that there is a danger in fiddling around with looks. Sometimes we spend too much, too much time worrying about how the website looks, and not enough time about the content. But people do care. I got another question, and I want to get to another poll question, and then I'm gonna go back to. I see a question in the question box that I'm gonna get to after I do this poll. Uh, If I don't have a bachelor's degree, I don't have the authority to write to what does it say? I don't have the authority to start a website in a particular field. If I don't have a bachelor's degree, then I don't have the authority to start this website. That's the question, the poll question, just to see. Now, I actually did address this pretty close to directly, and let me close this poll down. If I don't have a bachelor's degree, I don't have the authority to start a website. Nope, that's false. You don't need to have a bachelor's degree to start a website. All you need is the knowledge and the experience in that particular area. If you got that, even without the bachelor's degree, you're ready to move forward. Don't let nobody turn you around. Don't you let nobody turn you around. Remember, I ordained you. I ordained you myself as an expert in your field. So you go on out and do that thing. And don't let nobody tell you that you ain't got the ability or the authority to talk on that subject if you have the experience and you've read and studied in that. Now, another question. What does the competition bar mean on the Google keyword tools? That is a good question. What that competition is telling us how many people are competing for that particular keyword in Google AdWords. Remember, I talked about how different people can buy a advertising on your website through Google AdWords. What happens is if a number of people are bidding in a particular field, in a particular area, that particular keyword is going to have higher competition. What that means is that they're probably going to be more expensive. It's going to be a more expensive keyword area, which means that when somebody clicks that, you're going to get paid more than likely for that particular keyword if you have that particular ad in your site. Let me. It's probably not clear, but let's put it this way: people, these on soulpreaching.com. You see this 3 sermons, online ministry degrees, and free Bible download. These are people who've gone into Google AdWords and have spent money to get on soulpreaching.com and other sites like soulpreaching.com. They pay money per click. Now, if there are a bunch of these people paying for different keywords like preaching, black preaching, it's going to say high competition. And if it's high competition, when somebody clicks that, then there will be more money made than when they don't click it. I mean, then if they clicked in an area that is in low competition. So the competition bar is not how difficult it is for you to rank inside of Google, but how difficult it is for your ads to come up in Google AdWords. We will talk about how to determine how competitive a keyword is in another seminar. Now I see the hands up. Uh, Lawrence Alejado, do you have a question or comment? Did you have a question or did you just accidentally? It looks like he accidentally hit the hands up button. No problem. Let's go and hit this last poll question. YouTube is best ignored. Just worry about your site. YouTube is best ignored. Just worry about your site. YouTube is best ignored. Go ahead and let's see if there's an answer. What you have to say to this particular question. YouTube is best ignored. Just worry about your own site. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll down. Yeah, and 100% of you said false, and 100% of you are correct. YouTube, you best not ignore YouTube. No, YouTube right now is the #2 search engine. When people are looking for certain things, for certain subjects, they go to YouTube and Google. So you definitely this reminds me. I had forgotten about this. Something to help you if you're having issues determining what you want to talk about. Let's go back to Google keyword tool. I'm going to pop up the Google keyword tool. Let's select Google keyword tool and come on up, come on up. One way to help you to get ideas, if you're having difficulty getting a general thrust for your website, type in how to into Google, into the Google keyword tool. Now this is gonna be DOM. Okay, that's DOM. SEDNOW. I think that's gonna. Let's see if that was correct. And as you can see, you get a ton of ideas of searches that people are searching for. How to is a big thing. How to crochet, that may be something you do. How to knit, how to videos, how to make a website, how to make, well, let's move on from there. How to tie, how to draw. You know, even how to kiss is #1 up there. How to make a wiki page. How to make movies. These are questions that are that you probably want to think through. They may be helpful to you. Let's say that something catches your eye. How to build a community. Then what you would simply do is go back up to here, build a community, search for that guy, and now we're going to be seeing all kinds of keywords in reference to building the community. So how to, and I meant to put that in the slide somewhere. That's a tool that might be helpful to you if you are just back, you're banging your head against the wall trying to understand what do I need to talk about. But that is the thing we have. We've run out of time. If you have any other questions, I'll leave it on for a couple more seconds. If you have any other questions, let me know right now before we close this particular seminar. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. Hopefully I've given you some tools, some keys, some ideas that you can use to help to move your organization, your business, your ministry, whatever, online. Well, it has been a blessing. I thank you all for attending. Till next time, this is. It looks like we've got a thank you. A thank you for attending. Let folks know about it, that you learned something that has been helpful to you, and we will continue to do these things. Once again, God bless you. Keep on